Maybe first we should introduce our guest. It's Katerina Sagazkova. She's the editor-in-chief and co-founder of media platform Zaborona. And before going into details about media situation in Ukraine, perhaps we just ask her to give you a short overview on what's been going on in Ukraine for the past 2 or 3 years. As you well know, that Vladimir Zelensky was elected president in 2019 with an overwhelming majority in runoff against the incumbent, Petro Poroshenko. And shortly after, his party, Servant of the People, gained majority in parliament in Rada. And this has never happened before, that president was in such full control of political process formally. And his election was carried by promises of change, of rooting out corruption, creating a level playing field in politics and business. And 2.5 years on, we see the results, or rather lack of it. And Katerina, could you just give us an overview to tell us about the key factors behind the Zelensky's failure? I guess it's fair to call it a failure.
That's all right. First of all, in 2020, the Constitutional Court of Ukraine decided to block some of the instruments of work of National Agency for the prevention of corruption. It was one of the main agencies that were created in 2015, I guess, if I'm not wrong. It was a really weird decision because, for instance, the court blocked declaration for officials. Previously officials, judges and parliament members had to fill the declarations every year, and that's how people were able to know how much money they have, how much the whole situation with how they received any profits from whatever. So the court decided that it should not be public. It was big. So in 2 days after this decision, President Zelensky claimed that it shouldn't be so. And he decided to dissolve the court, despite the fact that he was not in condition to do such things, because the Constitutional Court is the highest court in Ukraine. So this led to a big crisis that still continues. It's more than a year that this crisis we have in Ukraine. But actually, one can find the roots of the problem in 2016, when court reform gave judges too much power, actually. So it was a long story. So that was, I guess, the first big fail of President Zelensky. In October this year, OSCE has published a big leak of offshore documents around the world. And Zelensky's name was in this list of politicians who hid money in offshore zone. It was about $40 million. It was his money from 95 quartals that he so that was money when he wasn't actually president. It was before he became a politician. And he kept silence for a pretty long time. It was weird because you can see how international journalists from all the world were asking Zelensky what is the money that came from, why did you decided to hide it in offshore zones, but he kept silent. And my colleagues from CIS24, it's an investigative journalist project in Ukraine, they made a film about this offshore money of Zelensky. And they wanted to show this film in Kiev, in municipal space. But in the day of premiere of this film, somebody from Ukrainian Special Services called the director of this municipal space and asked him to cancel the premiere. So they tried to censor this film, and it was a huge scandal. But journalists managed to show the film finally in this space. But now we know that presidential office tried to silence them, to silence journalists. So one of the another fail, I guess, is that it is not actually a fail, but I will explain. President Zelensky signed so-called anti-oligarch law. It was recently. It claims that oligarchs in Ukraine are businessmen who control power, natural resources, strategic enterprises, and media companies. Since 90% of Ukrainian economy is dependent from oligarchs, it was not so clear how this law should work. And actually, some of oligarchs, such as Petro Poroshenko, who's former president of Ukraine, made a pretty indicative act. He sold his media assets, such as Пятый канал and Прямой канал. It's two TV channels that are pretty popular. He sold it to the editorial teams for 0 hryvnias. So we understand that he still control his media assets, but formally he's not controlling it. So that's how oligarchs reacted to this law. And I wanted to add, because we will talk about journalism, that one of the first things that the presidential office provided when Zelensky became a president is that they claimed that they will talk to people directly without a mediator like mass media. So they wanted to show that they have a lot of instruments to not to negotiate with journalists, with independent media. So it was a sign for us that it will be hard to get an access to public information. And if to say briefly about failures, I think I should notice that President Zelensky used a manual country control. He tried to. He claimed that he's sovereign of people, and that's why he tried to build processes in country. Like he's the only person who is like I don't know, relevant to
responsibilities.
Yeah, that he's responsible for all the processes in the country, and that's why he made this crisis with the constitutional court, with the anti-oligarch law, etc. And also, you should know that there is another man who stayed behind his back. It's Andriy Yermak. He's a head of presidential office. He has pretty close ties with Russian oligarchs in past, and he's very, very powerful now. And he creates most of the President Zelensky decisions. Also in international negotiations, so you even can see that journalists, while they write about Yermak, they say that he's more powerful even than President Zelensky itself. So yeah.
Well, to put it short, there's no level playing field in Ukrainian business. There are limited results in the oligarchization of the economy. And on top of that, there is a huge problem with notoriously corrupt judiciary courts. Yeah, we know very well. I've been following the Kiev District Administrative Court. It's one of those notoriously famous corrupt institutions. And then there's a dubious figure running presidential office. Well, for now, that's not solvable. But the problem is there, and it is what it is. But let's look at the freedom of speech specifically, and media environment, and maybe we should start with the latest development, of which Swedish public has been informed. The Kiev Post, one of the most prominent, respected newspapers in English language newspapers in operation since '95. Important source of information for non-Ukrainian and non-Russian speakers about Ukraine, was closed by its owner, Adnan Kivan. And well, maybe you could tell us more about what happened, but just to give us the more of a perception of what's going on. Is this the closure of this prominent newspaper? Should it be seen as an isolated incident, or is it a reflection of general tendency in Ukrainian media environment at the moment?
Yeah, I can tell that. I can tell you that this is a tendency, because it was the first time since 2013, I guess, before Maidan, that something like that is happening. Adnan Kivan is I just say some words about him. Adnan Kivan is a Syrian businessman who lives in Odessa. He have a big development business around Ukraine, and he bought Kiev Post in 2018, and nobody could understand why he needs it, because it is non-profit. I would say it's like minus profit business. So everybody thought that he will try to use it for his business interests, or maybe political interests. And we see that something happened. He didn't. he didn't close it. Actually, he just fired the whole team of Kyiv Post. Yeah, so formally he didn't close it. What was behind it? He decided to make a Ukrainian version of the Kyiv Post with a different team, with different goals, I guess, and I think he wanted to create something under this Kyiv Post good brand. But to use it in his, maybe not his interest, but somebody's interest, we don't know. Yeah, an editorial team said that they don't want to work in such conditions, and they were fired after all. And recently, Anya Miranyuk, she's a journalist of Kyiv Post. She went to press conference and told us that General Prosecutor of Ukraine tried to push on Adnan Kivan because of Kyiv Post, because Kyiv Post published stories about Zelensky offshores, about some corruption stories, and as I understood from what Anya told journalists, that General Prosecutor told Adnan Kivan to shut down his Kyiv Post team, or he would be prosecuted for his business.
When does this happen?
It was kind of like a week ago. I think it was last week that she went to press. But we have no evidence of this conversation between General Prosecutor and Adnan Kivan, so we don't know. But I trust my colleagues, so I don't think that they would, to tell not truth.
Adnan Kivan, he's of Syrian origin, but he's Ukrainian. He's lived in Ukraine for.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that he has a Ukrainian citizenship. I guess so, but I don't know.
But he's a long-time resident of Ukraine.
Yes. So this situation with Kyiv Post shows us that presidential office dislike independent journalism, and that's it. I don't want to see it as a tendency, I guess. But yeah, it is very, very bad signal, because the last time such a problem showed up, it was during Viktor Yanukovych's presidency. And we all know where Viktor Yanukovych is now.
Yeah, but I know that Adnan Kivan has been accused of shaping the editorial policy of Kyiv Post to suit his business interests, and the claims and counterclaims about that. But if you view just look at it in general terms, why would anyone in Ukraine buy a newspaper? And you see, it's very hard to make any money out of it. It meaning either this is doing for idealistic reasons, or the person wants to use it as a tool of influence, one way or the other. And how do journalists working for publications navigate in that kind of environment?
Where to start? I'm I'm the owner, one of the owners of my news media outlet, Zabrona. So Roman is co-owner of it. Why should I do things like that? Why do I need to to create a lot of problems for myself. Because we constantly need funding. We need to think how audience can can pay for the content, how to deal with the ad market, which is nothing in Ukraine. I mean, this is a very good question, I guess, because there are a lot of media outlets in Ukraine, really like hundreds of newspapers that goes online. I mean, not printed. But the most of them are owned by oligarchs or politicians or businessmen with their own interests, and Kyiv Post was one of the those hundreds of news outlets, and the owner, we can say that he's an oligarch too, small one. I mean, not billionaire but millionaire, minigarch. So yeah, we kind of try to survive actually when we do our job. So yeah, if we talk about Adnan Kivan's interest in Kyiv Post, I would not tell you that he's idealistic. I can say that I am. Because I have no profit of my job. I have just lots of troubles. But he don't, because he has a really big business, and I guess he had money to just fill the budget of Kyiv Post, and I guess he thought about it as a as a service to his business interests.
But let's say if you work for a large publication or TV channel, oligarch owned, and you get a clear signal from the owners, for instance, that you keep your hands off this or that businessman or this or that politicians, what do you do?
What do you mean?
I'm the owner. I'm telling you through my, co-workers.
Okay.
You keep your hands off my business, or you keep your hands off my friends' businesses. You do not criticize or make critical stories on this or that politicians. What do you do?
I just quit. And I will tell in public that this businessman tried to use journalists as a tool for serving his interests. I guess I mean, I don't know how you deal with it in Sweden. I mean, I guess owners of media, like businessmen, I think they understand the role of press, right? And in Ukraine, I guess the most of businessmen, they do not understand the role of journalism. So that's the difference. I guess editorial team has they rules, and they cannot. I mean, they cannot play this role of servants of this business. But yeah, it's complicated when you talk about Ukraine, and we're a pretty poor country, and when somebody wants to have media outlet in his business network, they understand that people would not they would obey because they need money for living, and yeah.
So, but you will not bring in a large investor because you do not want to get into that kind of trouble, and by not doing so, you have to accept of being a small publication.
Actually, team of Kyiv Post decided to create their own newspaper. I guess it's the right decision. And in my opinion, when you live in Ukraine, if you want to make journalism, you should become a owner of your own newspaper. I mean, it is not very healthy such situation like with Kyiv Post or another media, because you can look at Hromadske television. I don't know if you know about this news media outlet. They created an NGO, and Hromadske television is kind of public broadcast, not public broadcaster like BBC, I guess. Yeah, so they created their own media, and they are responsible for all the processes that in this media, and I think this is the right thing when you see such situation when oligarchs and businessmen want to use press for their interests.
Okay, let's switch to a different topic. Not long ago, several media channels, some owned by opposition figures, have been taken off the air. It's the TV channels and internet resources, accused of spreading pro-Russian narratives. How was this decision received by Ukrainian journalist community and you yourself?
We all know what Russian TV channels like Russia Today or Russia 24 report on international agenda, and of course when somebody decides to ban them from Ukrainian media landscape, you think, okay, we won't see this awful reporting in Ukraine, but you always have VPN to see that if you want to see. But after that, somebody decided to ban Ukrainian media outlets that are still do some awful reporting, but you're starting to think, okay, I'm a journalist who is pretty critical to the government, right? I do investigations on I don't know, Zelensky, offshores or whatever, corruption, for example. Do I have a chance to be banned after this list of those media that were banned? And I guess some journalists in Ukraine think so, that they could be next. And the way how those media outlets were banned is a very good question, because there is no such a law that can do so. Zelensky use this rather bezpeki, how to translate it? Kind of security council to put some Russian and pro-Russian media in a blacklist. So this is not how it should work. I mean, if you want to cut off broadcasting of pro-Russian or Russian TV channels, I guess you should create a law or find a mechanism that can do it like in the legal way. I mean, we need to have equal rights to know how we should build our work in this kind of environment. So if somebody wants to ban somebody, they have to create a equal situation for all of us. But it is hard because it will, create a different situation, and it could lead to a new crisis. And somebody could tell that Ukraine has a problem with freedom of speech, freedom of press, etc. So I guess they choose this type of instrument for banning to just not to work in this framework of censorship. But it's kind of a hybrid, and I don't know how to name it. Maybe it's a hybrid censorship, kind of that.
Do you believe that ban could be lifted anytime soon?
I guess they add new names in this list like every Friday or every month. So So
the answer is no. They rather add more resources, more people to
yes, of course.
But in which other ways has your ability to perform your work changed since 2019, Zelensky administration? We spoke briefly before this discussion. You mentioned something about the access to politicians, the media access to politicians and officials and the documents, and mentioned something about the violence against journalism.
I just wanted to tell briefly about that, but I think I can't. I've already told you that the first thing that Zelensky told press is that he wouldn't talk with press anymore because he has many other resources to talk with people without press, and they really do so. Because before Zelensky, we had some problems with access to public information, but now I can tell you that we have lots of failures with this access. I mean, when you need to arrange an interview with minister or like officials, authorities. I mean, anyone who is in charge with something. You have to send them a request, and they can answer to your request for like 2 weeks, 1 month, 4 months. I mean, you can wait it forever, and it makes no sense because you need it now. Your audience is waiting because the things that we asking, it is not like it's important things. Yeah, and they often ignore journalists. They don't allow them. They don't allow us to go to the press conference with president. For instance, they choose which kind of media they want to see on the press conference. For example, they want to see some oligarch channels that are not pretty critical. They want to see some, I don't know, Ukrainska Pravda, Новое Время, the independent media outlets, and the top of online media. But when my journalists from Zaborona try to go there, because we have a lot of questions to the president, they just ignore us. It's not only about us, it's about a lot of journalists that could get an access to the information and to interview people. And yeah, I can tell you that before 2019, we it was very, very different. So this situation is pretty new. And we try to find ways how we can deal with it, because we are really like it seems like we live in different realities with authorities. It's pretty weird, and of course it's dangerous for the society.
I understand that the problem for lack of access to information. I normally, if I contact government authority in the morning, I do not expect to receive information not only today, but I expect to receive it before lunch. Yeah. In Ukraine, things work a bit different. Well, there are more topics than time, but I think we still should take 5 to 10 minutes to discuss a very important issue. This is the murder of Pavel Sjaramets. In 2016, a prominent journalist of Belarusian origin, he's Belarusian, exiled in Ukraine, was murdered by a bomb planted under his car. And this murder has still not been solved. I know that Zaborona has done an investigation of police handling of this case. And could you just tell us how has this murder affected Ukrainian journalism in general, and what have you found during your investigation? I wrote here just, talking points, who, what, why.
Yeah. Every year since Pavel was murdered, CPJ's Committee for Protecting Journalism, they publish a report. And every year the comments from journalists on the case is that we still have a fear that we could be killed, and we still we still don't know who ordered this murder and what was the motive of the murder. So that's why we can still feel safe in our country. And the situation is that when President Zelensky became president, one of the first things he said that a murder of Pavel Sjaramets have to be solved immediately. And in kind of 2 or 3 months after that statement, former Minister of Internal Affairs Arsen Avakov told press that they have solved the case, and they made a great presentation with the suspects. They showed us three people, 2 women and 1 man, who served as volunteers on Donbass, and they said they killed Sjaramets, and they showed us their evidence that they murdered him, but actually it was not a evidence. They tried to put them on this crime scene without any straight evidence. So we see that police made very weak investigation, and we cannot trust it. And we still, they didn't tell us what was the motive of those people. They didn't tell us why they did it. They just said that that they had some ideological thoughts about Sjaramets, but I even can't explain you this motive, because it was pretty weird that one of the people that were accused of the murder, that he was a neo-Nazi ideology, which is not actually true, but neo-Nazi is a ideology which is about racism, about white power, etc. Why should they kill Sjaramets? Like for what reason? And after police made this presentation, they made another press conference, and they claimed that, okay, this thing with neo-Nazi thing is bullshit. We decided to cut it off the investigation, so forget it. And you just you just understand that the whole investigation is a bullshit. So. Still, it is 5 years since somebody killed Sjaramets, and we don't know who, why did it. We at Zaporozhye, we try to investigate it. We investigated this criminal case. We saw the documents and some evidence from the police, and we try to find out what happened. But the main thing with this investigation is that it is 5 years since, and a lot of evidence that they could find during this time, they are now like you just can't find it, because it was so long time ago. So I guess we just have to wait for a whistleblower, or somebody who will pop up and tell us that, like, I know who did it and I have some evidence of that. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, before giving the floor to questions, I would just like to ask one final question myself. I understand this is a difficult question, but this is also the reason why I need to ask it. Could you just tell us what you see as the pathways to more independence and professionalism in Ukrainian journalism?
I don't have an answer because all I see now is that dozens of journalists quit their profession. They go to PR to work on, like, as a press secretaries. They don't want to work as a journalist in Ukraine in 2021 because it is hard. You cannot see the sense of your profession actually because no one want to speak with you. I mean, I draw you this picture with the access to information. It is like you cannot live on the money that you can that this profession can provide you, because as I said, we are pretty poor, and it's only if you work for those oligarch channels they have something to somehow to support a normal life, but it is a compromise between journalism and money. It is. It's not like, I understand that it sounds pretty dark because, but yeah, that's how it is. I mean, not a lot of people in Ukraine now, I guess, want to work as a journalist, actually. So your question about how to make them more professional, I guess it is, on the second or third part of the problem.
Thank you. Then we give the floor to questions.
I need to borrow a mic, one of your mics.
Okay.
And before asking questions, you could introduce yourself and name an organization if there's one.
I have a question if no one else has one. I just, you've been talking about access to information, and I just wanted to know briefly about the general public. How is their trust for media in general, since I guess everyone knows there is interest behind most of media outlets, and how do you how do you build trust among your in your audience? And it must be a challenge as well, I guess, because everyone suspects everyone for having someone else directing you.
Yeah, thank you. I guess about 25 or 30% of Ukrainians trust journalists. It's very low, maybe less. And about 80% of Ukrainians trust church. So I think this is an answer, and it is pretty hard to build a trust with the audience. And that's why it is not easy to, for example, to build a membership model inside media, because the audience would not pay for content. Only very very loyal audience do so. So yeah, it's a challenge. We have this challenge for like 4 years, and yeah, it's still a challenge. And how to and your first question was how we build the trust between authorities, or
no, it was how you build trust for the audience. How should they understand that you are doing serious journalism and not only?
Yeah, some of them, of course, yes. So we have a core loyal audience who like what we do, who understand that critical journalism is very important in our country, not only in our country, in shaping democracy, we call it, right, in our region. Yeah, but it's not a very big audience actually. So.
We have 2 more questions. Maybe I'll pick up both questions and let you answer the last.
Very quick question, Stefan Larsson, Stockholm Center for Eastern European Studies. How would you say that the media landscape plays into the pandemic situation right now and vaccination?
Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, because we all know in Ukraine that just numbers. About 17% of Ukrainians are fully vaccinated. It is the lowest level in Europe, and I guess one of the lowest in the world. Yeah, I guess like top 10. How the information about vaccine was spread is more about social media, social networks, where people who don't believe in vaccination and don't trust government, who push them to go and be vaccinated. They live in these bubbles, and I don't think that many of them go online to some trusted news media resources, and sometimes news media outlets in Ukraine and on TV channels they actually spread disinformation about vaccine, and a lot of TV channels in Ukraine show that that there's conspiracies of people who believe that vaccine leads to 5G something. So yeah, and I guess that's why it is the level of vaccinated people is so low. There are some instruments how to talk about vaccine with people and build a trust, but not many of Ukrainian media do so. I mean, they just don't use it because not all of them know how to talk about it. It's complicated.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Christina, and I'm a master student in Russian languages and international relations. And I'm so sorry for another question about trust, but I'm planning on writing my thesis about Ukraine and on this topic. And I wonder if I just want to hear your opinion. I know it's a hard topic, but do you think that the trust in media is correlated with the trust for the politicians? And do you think that do you know if there is a difference between youth and the older generations? And do you it needs to be a change of government for the politicians to start earn the trust of the population, for it to be a change.
It's pretty different. I really see the connection between trust to authorities and trust to media, because when politicians use media as a resource to spread their political interests or their business interests, of course it affects media landscape, because of course the journalists who are not very critical, they just help them to provide something, and that's why people don't trust media, because the main thing that if you ask Ukrainian, just not an activist, just people who live there, why don't you trust press? And he would answer that because media in Ukraine are продажные. This word, that they all serve some businessmen or politicians. So that's the thing. And when you start your media outlet with a journalist standard, with a critical thinking, etc., it is pretty hard to build this trust, because still people think that you are a Kremlin agent or Soros agent or I don't know, Gosdep agent, like USAID agent, etc. So you you name it. And about youth, I don't know. I guess the young people in Ukraine, they're likely to use TikTok. I mean, they used to live in TikTok and Instagram, and they take actual information about events from there. It can sound funny, but if you know that in Russia, for example, TikTok became a very, very politicized, and so many activists use TikTok to spread information about Navalny, about people in prisons. So it works. It is not like a journalism, but you can use this TikTok approach to go to young audience, to say something important from your journalist work. And when you talk about people who is like 60 plus, of course they are in TV shows. They watch some programs on TV, on oligarch TV stations, actually, like top 5. It's owned by oligarchs. And it is absolutely different picture they have, because Ukrainian television is a different reality. I think they make up this different reality to just spread disinformation or just information that is it has interests of the owners.
Okay, one quick last question.
I have 2 short comments and one very quick question. So 2 comments. First of all, about trust. That continue. There is a difference between the trust and the considering of the source of information. As Kata said, really Ukrainians trust church, but only several % considering the church as a source of information. In the context of the conflict, only 1.4% of Ukrainians thought that the church is a source of information. Second, I believe that Ukrainians do not trust not journalists but different kinds of media. But on the first place, it's TV channels. It's still, unfortunately, and second place is YouTube, as considering by the Ukrainians, as a source of information too. And I have a question about Suspilne. Do you think that Suspilne have any chance to be a really channel for information, trustful information for Ukrainians? And as this channel could be the concurrent for 1+1 for fifth channel, etc.
Please tell us what Suspilne is.
It's a public broadcaster. It has a government budget like BBC actually, or PBS in US. So yeah, Suspilne is a very, very important broadcaster, and this is kind of a big idea of Ukrainian journalists and media experts. We really want Suspilne to become a first source of information for those who watch TV, and they already have a good digital department, but I see that presidential office of Zelensky wanted to use Suspilne as also wanted to push on them to serve their sort of people interest. We had a case recently. I'm not sure that we have time to explain, but yeah, we had a case, and we still try to investigate what's going on, because I think that this sort of people party try to say that public broadcaster is a government broadcaster. So they want to return it to the state that it was under Yanukovych during the Yanukovych period. So yeah, I hope they wouldn't be able to do so.